Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. If you are not subscribed already, then do that, but other than that intro, there's not much to say. Let's just jump into these hot takes. From my boy Not Zay, KPJ has more potential than any young shooting guard in the league, young equaling 25 and under. I would give that title to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the moment, and actually, if Zach LaVine has turned 26, never mind, forget him. But Devin Booker is also in that category. But also I think like Devin Booker and Zach as well are like kind of established for what they're going to be. I don't think there's too many more leaps for them, although I thought that about Zach last year and then he did what he's done this year. But I would need to see more from Kevin Porter before I say that. I guess if we're just talking pure potential, yeah, he has that potential. It's just a matter of whether or not he delivers on it. I would still give that title to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now, but I do think it's fair to put KPJ in that category, and he's definitely one of the more underrated young players in the league just because we haven't seen much of him yet. Steph Curry is so good at shooting that all of the other elite aspects of his game are underrated, talking to you Harden fans. Well, if we're talking about playmaking, Steph is one of the greatest playmakers of all time, mostly due to his gravity, but he's also still just a good passer. Rebounding, obviously not something he's that particularly good at. Defense, not good at. One thing as well that he is pretty damn great at is just leadership, which he deserves credit for. He's a very good finisher. Part of that, like a lot of the things with Steph that I do think is the reason why this happens is because everything starts with the shooting. Like, because he's such a good shooter, he's able to get so much space going to the basket. Because he's such a good shooter, he's able to be such an amazing playmaker. So shooting being the focus for Steph makes sense. It's just worth noting that the shooting goes far beyond just the ability to hit a shot, because it's the gravity and it's the ability to open up the other areas of the court for Steph because of how lethal of a shooter he is. Thad Young, Thaddy Daddy, can't escape it, should win Sixth Man of the Year. Well, I mean, he's starting now, just updated that, so he's starting at center for the Bulls over Wendell Carter Jr. If he continues to start, then he's obviously not going to do it, but in terms of how he actually stacks up versus really Jordan Clarkson, who's the only other real competition. Jordan Clarkson, here's the thing. I made a video about this. I don't like the way that the Sixth Man of the Year award is like how it's given, the players that get it. I think Thad Young is more important off of the bench for the Bulls than he is for the Utah Jazz. I think he's a better player. His defense is phenomenal. His playmaking is phenomenal. He doesn't miss any shots at the basket. Like, he has a running hook shot that I swear to God he does not miss. I said one of those TPA charts, which I don't understand, but it was like he's towards the top of the league in difficult shots at the basket, but also like I think he was like top 10 in efficiency at the basket, despite the fact that he's one of the most difficult shot taking guys in the league. Like, his stats will not jump out to you, but if you watch the Bulls this year, he has been by far and away their second best player. Like, and there's steep competition for number one with what Zach is doing, but like, he has been amazing, and I would argue he has been better than Jordan Clarkson this year. But based on how the Sixth Man of the Year award is generally given, Jordan Clarkson does fit into that criteria far more, because it generally just goes to these guys who score a lot of points off of the bench, and Clarkson is doing that more, even though I think Thad Young is better and more valuable. And you could say that's coming from a biased Bulls fan, but to be honest, I did not like Thaddeus Young last year and was wanting him to be traded. So, like, it's not like I was high on Thaddeus Young previous to this. It's just he has been so good this year, and because of the Bulls, it's going under the radar, and I understand that, but yeah, Thad Young is very good, but Clarkson probably going to win that one. The LeBron makes his teammates better narrative is completely BS. We have seen several players leave him and get better. George Hill, Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, Joe Harris, Jay Crowder, etc. Players who join his teams play worse in both efficiency and pure stats. So here's the thing. Does LeBron make his teammates better across the board? I would not say so. The thing is, though, the reason why guys like Jordan Clarkson have stats go up, Joe Harris barely plays, so I don't think that's really a fair one. But the reason those guys' stats goes up without LeBron is simply they're going in situations where they're getting more opportunity. And that's not really LeBron's fault. It's just if you have LeBron on your team, you're going to shoot the ball less. But specifically with LeBron, I think really it's more accurate to say that LeBron takes not good players and makes them good. But he doesn't take good players and makes them great, and he sometimes even takes good to great players and makes them worse, just simply by the fact that LeBron is doing a lot of things. And that's not really a knock on LeBron James, that's just the fact of the matter of doing as much as he does. So, like, for example, the point guard, Deli. He was horrible as soon as he left LeBron. Like, easily terrible. Tristan Thompson worse without LeBron. Timothy Mozgov got a fucking max contract, or not quite, but like a lot of money because LeBron James made him look so good with his playmaker. So LeBron elevates these not actually good players to being good, but I don't think he actually makes good players already better, or even sometimes, in some cases, makes them worse, just simply by the fact that he has to do a lot. And that's not really a knock on LeBron, but I do think to some extent the LeBron makes his teammates better thing is a little overblown. I wouldn't say it's outright BS. That's not the case. Michael Porter Jr. and Karl Anthony Towns both have the potential to be top 5 scorers ever, but neither of them are being correctly utilized. I just did a video on this channel about Michael Porter and my grievances with how he's used in Denver, so I'm not going to elaborate on that one too much. I've also talked about Karl Anthony Towns. It's not that Cat is being used wrong, it's that he's being underutilized. Like, so many games Cat is not leading this team in shots, and like with the talent that's on this Timberwolves team, Cat needs to shoot the ball more than anybody by a pretty big margin, and that's just simply not the case. So many games where Anthony Edwards is taking more shots, when he was playing D'Lo taking more shots, sometimes Malik Beasley. Cat should be leading in shots pretty much every night by a pretty big margin. But yeah, I don't think Cat gets enough appreciation for the generational scoring talent that he is. It's just that everything else about his game that could be better, but ridiculously good shooter as a 5. I've already said the best 3-point shooting big man ever, not best shooting in general, that would go to Dirk, but generational score. And unfortunately, his team doesn't seem to treat him like that half the time. Rusty will stop simping on Twitter one day. See, that's just a fucking lie. That's just not gonna happen. Moving on. DeAndre Hunter is as good as Tyler Herro. Well, if we're going off of the 18-game sample size that DeAndre had before he got hurt, I would say he's actually better than Tyler Herro. DeAndre, one of the most underrated young players in the league because of the season he was having. It is 18 games, so if you want to be hesitant on really gifting him that title already, then I understand that. But I think DeAndre Hunter can be very good, and if he is what he was in his first 18 games, then I'd say he's better than Tyler Herro simply because he's a more efficient 17-point per game scorer, which is roughly around where Tyler Herro is, I believe, while being a miles better defensive player. Not as good of a playmaker, but there's definitely a case there, and DeAndre Hunter is definitely slept on. And that's one of the best examples, actually, of hype, like just making one player appear way better than they are versus one who just gets no hype being left in the dust. The Pistons' young core isn't as bad as people say it is. Well, first of all, I don't think too many people are saying that many negative things about the Pistons' young core, but more importantly, I do want to say, when I did my young core ranking tier list, I actually should have included the Pistons. I just completely disregarded them, at least if I remember correctly. I might have actually put them in it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. Killian Hayes, I still think has tons of potential. I think it'd be a Malcolm Brogdon type. Isaiah Stewart has been showing ability to be a really impactful player. Sadiq Bey, I think, is going to be one of the best 3-and-D forwards in the league with more room to grow from there. And then there's I don't really think Sekou Doumbouya is really going to be anything. They just got what's his name from the Thunder, Diallo. I don't think he's really going to be all that special, although he does have the potential to be. Those three in particular, Killian, Sadiq, and Stewart, and I think there's another name that I'm missing right now. They do have a lot of upside, those three, and they deserve credit for it. But I don't think there's too many people completely shitting on the Pistons' young core. It's just they haven't done much yet, so they don't get much attention right now, and it's the Pistons who never get attention anyways. So yeah. Marcus Smart, barring any major injuries, will finish his career as a top 5 defensive guard of all time, maybe even competing with Gary Payton for first. Yeah, he has a case there. I mean, Marcus Smart defensively doesn't even make any fucking sense, because obviously he's good defending guards, but he's also good defending 7-footers in the paint, which is you're not supposed to be able to do that when you're 6'3", 6'4" max. He has so much strength. He knows how to get under people's skin. He's just so good defensively. And if Defensive Player of the Years went to guards more, he would be in that conversation pretty much every year. And I think there's probably going to be a year or two where he really is in that conversation and he does win Defensive Player of the Year, because he's just absurd, man. He is just ridiculously good defensively. So yeah, he could retire as a top 5 defensive guard ever. I could see a case for that. I mean, after Gary Payton and Michael Jordan, I don't think there's a consensus, guys, unless I'm missing somebody. I mean, Sidney Moncrief, I believe, was a guard. He might have been a small forward, but I'm like 90% sure he was a guard. So yeah, that's not like there's some incredibly steep competition to make it into the top 5, and I think he really could. Steph Curry gets overhated. I would say Steph might be the most overhated player of all time. Now, I understand LeBron James has an incredible amount of hate, and I'd say LeBron is the most hated on player of all time. But I would say, even though I wouldn't use the word deserved, LeBron definitely does things that I understand why that would tick people off. Like the decision to go to Miami, some of the comments he makes, like calling himself the greatest player of all time. I would understand why that bothers people. It doesn't bother me, but I understand it. But Steph doesn't do anything. Like, he just plays basketball on vibes. What more do you want from him? Like, he doesn't have an issue playing second fiddle, and like he gets criticized for that, but it's like he's doing that to win more. He doesn't say shit like about how great he is, really. He dances sometimes after he makes a 3. You're mad that a guy dances, like being able to make millions playing basketball? You should fucking dance if you can do that. Like, Steph is a nice fucking guy. He never tried to hurt anybody's feelings. He's not making douchey comments. He doesn't come off as cocky. He comes off as very humble, actually. And he's an incredibly fun player to watch. The only gripe you could have with him isn't even with him as a person. It'd be like, maybe if you don't enjoy the 3-point era, and he kind of really picked up the steam in that direction, even though it was heading there, you could be annoyed by that. But like, to hate a guy for that, to hate a guy for like LeBron James, if he had the opportunity to have Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green on his team, you think he's passing that up? Like, it's Steph's fault that he made an obvious decision to win more championships? Stop hating on Steph. He did not ask for it. Like, not even saying LeBron asked for it, but Steph has opposite of asked for it. He's done everything right to not be someone who gets a bunch of hate, and he just does. So it's bullshit, and I really can't stand it. No bias here, though. Ignore the Curry jersey. Anyways, that was Hot Take. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, but that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music. Wow, I did that intro out. Wow, I did that outro. Fuck!